Everyone, I thought I'd just cut a video talking about some life experiences over the last couple of years, actually last several decades. And many of you that are Gen X remember what was sold to us when we were just getting started in our careers, that 401k was going to be the greatest thing and that this is what was going to get us to retirement. I know our parents, grandparents, they had pensions. Well, that was going away, and now it was the 401k that was going to be the savior for retirement. I know some of y'all remember that. I remember it. As I was getting through my career, probably started in my 30s, I was hearing, and this actually came out in the mid 90s, the theory of how much to take out from your 401k once you were in retirement. Some of y'all remember the 4% rule, that you're only to take out so that your retirement money would last till your last days, that you could only take out 4%. And of course, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking, okay, how much is that going to take, and what am I going to need in retirement? And for $1 million, taking out 4% would be only $40,000. So you know, and I very well right now, 40,000 would be almost at the poverty level for what it takes to live today if that was your only income. So then how many people have $1 million? Well, according to the statistics, only 10% of retirees have saved up $1 million in the 401k plan. So, okay, what do we need then? $2 million to live on 80,000. 80,000 would be basically right now about middle class. What is it going to be for all of us 10 years from now? That's if we were to save up $2 million. How many have $2 million in 401k savings right now, you ask? 3%. We see it, and we know here in the next 10, 20 years, it's going to take well more than 100,000 to live in a comfortable retirement. Say you're wanting to have close to 200,000, that might be what you need in 10 years. That would be if the 4% rule were in effect, just like they say is the best thing and the best way you can protect your retirement till your death. It's going to take $5 million. How many people have that? 0.1%. That's how many people have $5 million. And so we look at that and say, how is this possible? And that's what I thought in my 30s and early 40s. I'm like, there's no way. I can't save it fast enough. It's behind that wall that I can't access it till after 59 and a half. This is what everybody promotes. I would say even the government promotes it. And there's reasons, I think, why. When you take it out as earned income. What is the highest tax rate? We're going to talk about that. It's earned income. So as someone that I know that calls the 401k plan the 40-40-40 plan, that's working 40 hours a week, selling your life 1 hour at a time for 40 years. And then when you're all said and done, you're living on 40% of your earning years. That's not a plan that sells with me. So I was looking at that and really thinking about it. There has to be, looking at it as how many ways do you make money with stocks and bonds? And I could only think of two, and that's through appreciation or some form of interest payment or a dividend. Only two ways you can make money with the stock market. And for one thing, I watched it, and some of y'all remember 2008. I had some friends that were about to retire. They literally couldn't retire because the timing of the market, when they were ready to retire, their portfolio was down 30%. So they had to delay retirement for multiple years before it got up to the level. I don't want that. I don't have control of my retirement. I wanted to have that control. And as I looked at it and I remember things going under, we remember and we know over the years of how many businesses that were here 10, 20 years ago. I'm thinking of basically Circuit City, Sears, some of the big stores, big name companies that were here in years past that are no longer here. I didn't want to trust my retirement on things I couldn't control because I felt like the stock market had a piece of it that was pricing on irrational or headlines of the day, the week, the month, and it was always up and very up and down, I guess I would say, and very insecure for my mind. And ultimately, I looked at the intrinsic value and I said, what do you own? When it's all said and done, if someone would say, hey, here's what you own, what is tangible that you really own when you have your 401k? And this is what I looked at. This is my own personal feelings. And what I feel is ultimately you have a piece of paper that says you own shares of a company. That's really what you own, is either a blip on a screen or a piece of paper that says you have shares. There's no tangible thing. And so I said there had to be a better way. And as I began that path of real estate over the last 4 years of actually owning investment properties, but heading in that path, what do you ultimately own? When you look at it, you can touch it, feel it, see it. You can even insure it. If it were to burn to the ground and you have insurance, they're going to build it back if you have the right insurance. But say you didn't. Let's just say you owned it free and clear and it burned to the ground. What is it ultimately worth? Is it ever worth zero? No. At least the land has value. And God's not making any more land. It's going to increase in value over the years. So I looked at that and said, I actually have more control. I'm picking those properties. It's more stable in its pricing. It doesn't quickly swing up or down. It steadily goes up over the years. If we look all the way back, the statistics I have from back to the 30s and 40s, every year and every decade, properties increase in value. And over the last, since the 30s, I think that's what I had, the lowest 10-year period only went up 34%. So that was the lowest that it went up over 10 years. Very secure, but also I didn't have to sell it to pay my bills. I could build a retirement without having to sell it. In a 401k plan, once you're at retirement, what do you have to do? You have to sell something to get the income to pay the bills. With real estate, the beauty of real estate is you don't have to sell it. The other asset I personally do not want or personally do not buy is gold. One of the things that makes me skeptical is what the general sales pitch is fear. If somebody has to use fear to sell me a product, it might not, most likely not a product that I'm wanting to own. Plus, what does it do? I kept looking at that. Yes, it goes up in value, but that's all it does. It doesn't produce income. It doesn't have other features. And I'm going to list the 5 ways you make money in real estate. And that's what I looked at is I don't know of another asset that makes money 5 different ways. So we've got number 1. The number 1 way is cash flow. I will not buy or build a rental because I do the build to rent model if it doesn't cash flow. Of all the properties I've built so far, I'm receiving a 27% yield on the actual cash I have invested. The second way is the principal pay down. As the renters and the tenants are paying their rents, that is paying down the note. I believe in some portion of leverage. Now, from my perspective, I keep it pretty current, conservative. I'm looking at a loan to value currently right now. I'm around 60 to 61%. I want to see my portfolio when I'm doing builds to at least be at 75% loan to value when I'm finished. I do not want to be highly leveraged. I am conservative, and I remember 08. I was in banking in 08, and I watched people have to sell everything. I want to have a path out. I don't want to be those that I'm so highly leveraged I can't get out without losing money. So I keep mine very conservative. Principal pay down right now this year, my tenants are going to pay down the loans $65,000. That's going to my net worth without me doing anything other than collecting rents. Tax benefit, the third way, the income that I receive from the cash flow on the properties as I'm still building out my portfolio. The tax benefit, I'm paying 0% income tax on that income. It's about $32,000 right now with the 10 units I have. 0. Forced appreciation with my build to rent model. I've been able to build them with 20 to 22% equity from day one. You may be in the resale market. You're working hard. You're not compromising. You're only buying great deals that have equity in them and that cash flow. You might buy them with some, I call that forced equity. Mine's from build equity. The fifth way is natural appreciation. The latest numbers I'm hearing, average over the last multiple decades, is about a 4% appreciation rate. I'm putting 3, but 3 to 4%. These are the things I look at. And then I look at in retirement, if I'm in retirement just off of real estate, most likely I'm going to be paying 0% income tax or just a small amount. One of the things that I want to talk about, and some of y'all remember the cash flow quadrant book. If you haven't read it, read it. It's excellent. It has been a good one that I've read. He has 4 different quadrants. The E is the employee, earned active income, the self-employed, business income, and investment income. That's what we're talking about here. If you're in the 401k and you're drawing out the money, what is that? It's active income versus passive. 401k, it's active income. It's taxed at employee active income, the highest tax rate there is. 30 to 50% is the average. Why do you think the government promotes the 401k plan? Because it's the highest tax rate. If we look at the tax code, only 5% of the tax code is written raising your taxes. Employees have very little tax benefits and incentives and deductions. The deductions are on the business and investment side. Employee, the taxes are taken out at the beginning and then you pay your bills. Same thing with self-employed. It's even higher tax rate. You're paying the matching on Social Security. So that averages 40 to 60%. Business income is taxed only at 20%, and investment income on average is 0 to 10% because you can deduct all the expenses, and then after what's left, after all the deductions, be it depreciation and all kinds of other deductions for the expenses, after all that, then you're taxed. And a lot of times on investment property, it's at 0. You have 0 income tax. So those are the reasons why I have chosen to go the real estate path only. And in the last 5 years, I was looking at this just the other day, from 2019 to today, 2024. I've put a little bit down, not saying it's small, not saying it's $5,000, but our net worth has increased 9x in 5 years. Could I have ever gotten that in 401k? I don't see any way in 5 years my net worth would have grown 9x on the investment that I put in. It's the power of leverage with having loans. I want to keep, ideally, when I'm getting close to retirement, in that 50% range. Right now I'm in the 60% range. I'm using the power of leverage to grow my net worth because of these 5 different ways owning real estate. So I wanted to share that today and explain my reasoning. This is for me, but why I've chosen to only invest in real estate, because number one, I don't have to sell it to pay the bills, and the tax benefits, all the ways I make money. It's way better for me than 401k.